What's going on, everybody? So, of course, last video I made a Padres video. This time I'm talking about the UFC because, hey, that's what this channel was built upon in the first place. Baseball and fighting. And I love MMA. To the point where I even started training it. But let's get to it. We're going to go division by division, talk about the champion a little bit, talk about what we can see coming up in the future, as well as things that have been confirmed. But let's just get right to it. We're gonna start off in men's flyweight, 125. This division is not very deep. Of course, champions Alexandre Pantoja. He just beat Brandon Moreno, and I mean he looked real good doing it. Honestly, the division isn't deep. It's kind of tough to foresee the division other than a Brandon Moreno rematch. Especially with Davis Figueiredo supposedly moving up to 135. That is yet to be confirmed. That is yet to be seen. But yeah, I can probably expect a rematch there. Seems like flyweight is just a division that can't get away from rematches. After 125, we go up to 135. The most exciting knockout of the year, I have to say, was Sugar Sean O'Malley knocking out Aljamain Sterling with a beautiful right hand. He slips the punch beautifully, staying out of range. Perfect use of range and knowing exactly when to strike. Lands a clean right hand, stuns the champion. You can even see it on Aljamain Sterling's face when it landed, or when it was incoming, that he knew that was going to be a big shot and he was going to take some damage. Some can debate an early stoppage. I think he was definitely taking some punches on the ground. I would see that it was a bit early due to the fact Aljamain Sterling was scrambling. He was trying to regain himself, recompose, trying to get into turtle, just moving around. He's being active. He's not flattened out, getting beat down on. So I can understand why there's calls that it was an early stoppage. For Sean O'Malley, honestly, there's a million ways you could go. Joe Rogan said it. That division is full of savages. 1 through 5, absolute beasts. I made a list of a couple I would want to see. Of course, Chito Vera at 135. That's the rematch. Sean O'Malley, the champion, wants to get his loss back. So that one makes sense. You could also see a Merab Dvalishvili. Now that his best friend Aljamain Sterling is no longer the champion, he can finally claim what his spot was as the #1 contender and actually compete for the belt. Lastly, of course, an Aljamain Sterling rematch. Aljamain was a dominant champion. He had big wins against Petr Yan, and I know I'm not counting the knee when he won the championship. That was a disqualification, and he was handily losing that fight, in my opinion. But he did beat Petr Yan after the fact. He defeated Henry Cejudo, and I believe he defeated Corey Sandhagen. So he was a great bantamweight champion. But that division's stacked. And then even when you go down in the division, there's some names coming up like an Umar who can never get in the actual cage Nurmagomedov due to the fact that he's always pulling out of fights. Honestly, just name him Umar, pull out of fights Nurmagomedov. But hey, that's just my opinion. 145, Volkanovski is injured. We all know who Volk is. I mean, if you're even watching this video, you know who Alexander Volkanovski is. Alex the Great, best featherweight of all time. That is hands down. Of course, you can make an argument for Jose Aldo in the 10-year run he had, but I make the argument for Alex Volkanovski, especially handily defeating his opponents. Everyone that's ever competed against him was handily defeated at the 145-pound division. Islam Makhachev was a much bigger opponent. It was much more difficult for him to reach him. But even then, Volkanovski had very good rounds, and it was a very close decision, in my opinion. It could have gone either way. But for him, I think it's Ilia Topuria. Arnold Allen's another person in the 145 division, another new name up in the top 5. But Ilia Topuria is a fun, exciting fighter. A lot of people are hyped up on him, and I think it would be a good fight to see Volkanovski tested. Do I think anyone could give him a real test in featherweight division? No, because he's an absolute tank. But it's a fun fight to see, and I would want to see it. Moving on to lightweight, 155, Islam Makhachev. He has a confirmed rematch with Charles Oliveira to defend the belt in Abu Dhabi in October. Islam got him the first time with a head and arm choke. I think Charles Oliveira is going to be a little more tactical in this fight, not be so confident on the ground. I think he's going to be focusing more on the striking because I think Oliveira has some of the best Muay Thai in MMA, especially in that division. However, his confidence going to the ground and being on his back I think played a little bit against him just because when he went down, Islam was the one guy I actually saw who wasn't scared to go to the ground with him, and he just took advantage, used his position, used his terrific wrestling, and was able to get the head and arm choke. And that was all she wrote in the second round. Heartbreaking. I'm an Oliveira fan, but you gotta live with it. Welterweight 170, we got Leon Edwards. Leon Edwards does not have a confirmed return to the UFC right now. Of course, knocking out Kamaru Usman in shocking fashion in Salt Lake City, because that is not the cloth from which he was cut. Leon Edwards, beautiful left high kick. Then he beat him in a rematch decisively when a lot of people thought, oh, Kamaru Usman's just going to get that loss back, make an easy victory, going to become champion once again. It was just a hiccup, but no. Edwards showed that he's a champion, and he's here to stay. But I think there are options there. It's probably going to be Colby Covington. I would like to see Colby Covington fight for the belt. I would like to see how he would do against Leon Edwards. Although Leon, I think, didn't want to fight Colby Covington. I'm not sure if that's because he doesn't like the stylistic matchup. He did say a lot of times that he's just not a fan of Colby Covington and doesn't deserve the shot. But I don't think any champion can decide who deserves a shot or not, especially if you're in the top 3 of a division and you've been in the top 3 of a division for 5-6 years. But who am I to say? I'm just a fat guy on camera, right? Other entertaining options there, Bilal Muhammad. Yeah. Other decisions there, maybe not so much entertaining. Gilbert Burns, of course, always entertaining. You have Hamzat and Shavkat, the big prospects coming up in the 170-pound division. I don't really see them. I don't see Hamzat fighting for a belt anytime soon, especially with him missing weight as badly as he did, and it seemed like he was very lackadaisical about it. So I don't think the UFC really appreciates that. And of course, Ian Machado Gary is also in that division, who had a decisive victory on Neil Magny. Decisive. Bo Nickel, I believe, competes 170 as well. He might be 185. I actually don't remember that off the top of my head. Bo Nickel competes 84 kilo, 185. So we'll talk about him next. But in the middleweight division, we got Israel Adesanya. He is confirmed to fight Sean Strickland at UFC 293. A lot of people were thinking it'd be Dricus du Plessis, especially after honestly, his victory against Robert Whittaker was shocking. Robert Whittaker has been at the top of this division for years. Number 1 contender, just under Israel Adesanya. He was a gatekeeper of sorts. And Dricus du Plessis handed it to him in a dominant way. And it didn't just shock me. It shocked everyone, I feel. Watching that fight live, just to see Robert Whittaker get dismantled in that way, you got to give major props to Dricus du Plessis. But I believe he is injured and could not get the quick turnaround time to fight in September. So that's why Sean Strickland's up, and it's going to be fun. The press conference, all the theatrics, everything that goes into it. I hope Sean Strickland doesn't get cold feet like he did with Pereira. I feel like he was a little stiff against Pereira, and that resulted in him losing in the way he did. Of course, Adesanya doesn't have the knockout power of Pereira. I don't expect Strickland to get caught in that way, but Adesanya, he makes even the biggest power punchers kind of take a back seat, like Jared Cannonier. Gonna be a fun fight to watch. I would want to see Sean Strickland do a little bit of wrestling, but I doubt it. I think he likes to stand in the pocket and bang with these dudes. Pause. Let's go to 205. 205, currently no champion. Title was vacated. Jamal Hill, unfortunately, did get injured. I honestly thought short notice they would make Alex Pereira versus Jan Blachowicz a championship fight. They didn't. Whatever. I don't think they would have been able to do the 5 rounds on a quick turnaround like that, especially when neither of them have been training for 5 rounds because their initial fight was 3 rounds. But right now, after how Pereira beat Jan, I think it's going to be Pereira versus either Prochazka or Ankalaev. Prochazka also coming off injury. I don't get it. Light heavyweight, ever since John Jones has left, has been a revolving door. A lot of people getting hurt. A lot of people losing on the first title defense. If Yuri cannot come back, definitely going to be Ankalaev. That's without a doubt. And if the UFC decides to make Yuri versus Ankalaev, Pereira's fighting the winner. It's whoever is up. And then whoever doesn't get the fight is probably going to get the title defense if Jamal Hill can't come back yet. It's funny how the UFC works. Heavyweight, we got John Bones Jones confirmed versus Stipe Miocic, UFC 295. That's gonna be a great fight. It's in November. That's the fight honestly people have been waiting for years. Is Stipe versus John Jones. How is it gonna look? Honestly, I can never pick against John Jones. That dude's the most dominant person I've ever watched. Of course, I've watched Khabib, I've watched GSP, but like I don't think anyone matches up with John Jones. He's when it comes to being in the octagon, that dude is a monster. Whether it's kicks, whether it's range, his stand up, his wrestling, his jujitsu, it's like perfectly designed for MMA. If you wanted one person to be an MMA fighter or to use their weapons as well as any MMA fighter could, you would point them at John Jones and say, "Hey, this is how you maximize what you got." He does that. All the off the cage or outside the cage issues besides John Jones is an absolute monster. Stipe is gonna do. He's gonna be put through the ringer. I feel honestly. Of course, in the division, you also have Sergey Pavlovich, who's currently the #1 contender. That dude can knock out anyone. I mean, absolute power. I don't know if John Jones is gonna be around for that fight, to be honest, because a lot of talk about him retiring after Stipe. We'll have to wait and see. But Pavlovich, I think, is gonna be a champion just based off his knockout power one day. We move over to the women's. We have 115. We have Zhang Wei Li, who, of course, we just saw absolutely maul Amanda Lemos. It wasn't even close. I think it was, what, 290 strikes to like 30? I don't even know what that is, because that's not a fight. Most likely Yan Xiaonan, although I don't know their relationship. They are fellow countrymen or countrywomen. So that would be a little interesting, that dynamic. That'd be a great fight for them to have in China. If you wanted the UFC to have a fight in China, it would be those two, because I think they're really trying to get into that market, and having a Chinese champion is huge for that. So if you want to have a fight in China, you have Yan Xiaonan versus Zhang Wei Li for the belt. And then I think you have a Leech. He's going to be on that card for sure. I'm not sure who else is currently Chinese who's like a top contender in the UFC. Is Song Yadong Chinese? I believe so. Wait, is this so? Wait a minute. I believe Song Yadong's Chinese. Let me see this. Yeah, he is Chinese. Cool. See, I know what I'm talking about. Yeah, he would be on the card too at bantamweight. Don't know who he would fight against, to be honest. But hey, for the Chinese fans. UFC flyweight, women's flyweight. You have Grasso versus Shevchenko, rematch confirmed. It's gonna be on a fight night, which is pretty cool to see a title fight on a fight night. Unfortunate though. I hope the UFC took care of them, because you don't get pay-per-view points for a fight night, because obviously it's not a pay-per-view. I hope they got a fat paycheck from it though. That'd be kind of sad if they didn't. Alexa Grasso honestly handed Valentina Shevchenko a big loss. Very surprising the way it happened. And I'm really excited to see that rematch. Can Valentina Shevchenko come back, bounce back to form? Or will Alexa Grasso hold down 125 for a while? Outside of Alexa Grasso, Aaron Blanchfield, of course, is a monster. Manon Fiorot is a great fighter as well, out of France. It's going to be fun to see. Lastly, we have the women's bantamweight division. After the greatest women fighter of all time, Amanda Nunes, retired. They haven't officially announced any form of a fight for the belt yet. They haven't really talked at all about the belt. I think they're just going to give it some time. I would say 6 months after retirement, so we got like a couple months left. Just to give the greatest women fighter of all time her due. But most likely going to see Pena versus Pennington. The other person who would have been up for that fight would have most likely been Mayra Bueno Silva. However, she is currently facing a suspension due to alleged performance enhancing substances. However, she has claimed that it's medication prescribed to her due to ADHD. So she is currently appealing. Hopefully, NSAC can figure out what's going on and determine from there. I feel like it's been a while since we've heard a suspension of a top name in the UFC due to performance enhancing substances. Hopefully they can find resolution and we can get back to it and see who's going to become champion. Overall, though, biggest fights I'm looking forward to in the remaining part of the year. I mean, honestly, I'm going to go John Jones versus Stipe #1, Adesanya versus Strickland 2, and then actually, no, I'm going to look forward to Makhachev Oliveira 2, Adesanya Strickland 3. I honestly, in my heart of hearts, I feel like Adesanya is going to be Strickland. But Makhachev versus Oliveira, I feel like there can be a shocker in there. It's going to be exciting to see, though. If you guys liked the video, please like and subscribe. Let me know what you guys think about these fights. Some contenders you think will make a rise for the rest of the year. I'm excited to see it.